There were times where I felt that my biggest battles were other people. There were times where I felt that they were in my finances. My biggest battles were the circumstances I found myself. But then I began to find out that they were not, but they were in my own thoughts. I found myself worrying about things that haven't even happened yet, replaying past mistakes and talking myself out of opportunities even before I tried, until I realized that the quality of my life is largely determined by the quality of my thoughts. Today, I want to share a review of two powerful books that have deeply influenced the way I think about the mind and mental transformation. The first book is The Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer, and the second is The Power of Your Mind by Pastor Chris Oyakhilome. While these two books were written by two different authors, they both point to one important fact: my mind matters more than I think. Let's dive right in. The battlefield of the mind. The main idea of this book is that the greatest battles in life are won or lost in the mind. According to Joyce Meyer, many of our struggles begin long before they show up in our actions. They begin in or as thoughts. The enemy often attacks believers through fear, doubts, unbelief, confusion, insecurity, worry, negative thinking. And the pathway is usually our thoughts. Anything that can influence your thinking can influence your life. Lesson one: not every thought deserves my attention. One of the biggest takeaways for me from this book was realizing that just because a thought enters my mind does not mean it belongs there. And the fact that I have a thought doesn't mean it is true. So I started examining my thoughts and realized that a thought can visit my mind without becoming a resident. As time went on, when thoughts came into my mind, I started separating myself from those thoughts, and I would ask questions like, is this thought true? Does it align with God's word for me? Is it helping me or hurting me? Some thoughts are hurting us. For example, if I get a thought that I would fall sick, instead of me dwelling on the thought of me falling sick or merely hoping that I don't fall sick, I'll begin to x-ray that thought in line with God's word. And what does God's word say concerning my health? And I will instead start deliberately channeling my mind to what God's word says instead of the thoughts of me falling sick. And as a bonus, I don't attack thoughts with thoughts. Once I get those thoughts and I'm able to pick God's word concerning me in that area of my life, I will begin to attack that thought with not just thoughts but with words. Lesson two: worry changes nothing. One of the traps extensively discussed here is worry. Many times we worry because we think we are responsible, but worrying and problem solving are two very different things. Worry is mentally rehearsing a negative outcome over and over again. Worry has never made anything better. If for anything, it temporarily makes our lives a living hell. Have you noticed that many of the things that we worried ourselves to death over never even happened? We just worried for nothing. This used to be my 18, maybe because I'm predominantly in melancholy and we tend to internalize a lot and sadly in the negative. So what I do now is that when I have reasons to want to worry, I pray about that circumstance because I can't control that circumstance. So I pray about what I can control and then I focus on what I can. Lesson three: my mind needs daily renewal. Transformation doesn't happen automatically. Romans 12 verse 2 says that we should be transformed by renewing our minds. Just as we feed our bodies daily, we need to feed our minds daily. What we watch, what we listen to, what we read, what we meditate on eventually shapes our thinking. I notice lately that the more I listen to the news, especially in the times that we live in, the more I began to sense fear. So I've placed a filter on the information that I feed myself with, and you should too. Not that I won't listen to news, I still do listen to news, but I place a filter on my mind, and then sometimes I just choose not to listen to the news at all because I saw that I was feeding my mind with information that was creating a pathway for fear to come in. So create a mental picture of the kind of person you want to be and begin to feed yourself with the information, the kind of knowledge that can take you there. In summary, this book helped me realize that spiritual maturity isn't just about being a prayer warrior or taking the front seat in church. It also had to do with learning to think correctly, and that happens by renewing your mind. Book two: The Power of Your Mind. The major message of the power of your mind is that your mind is a powerful tool, a very powerful tool given by God. Your thoughts influence your words influence your actions influence your results. It emphasizes that a transformed life begins with transformed thinking. Lesson one, see yourself the way God sees you. Many people live beneath their potential because of how they see themselves. Their self image is shaped by their past failures, their family backgrounds, the rejections that they have suffered, criticism, negative and limiting beliefs. But we as believers should build our identity on God's word rather than on circumstances. If God says that you are capable, if God says that you are chosen, that you are loved, that you're victorious, that should be your mindset. In my opinion, this is not a passive thing. It may take a painstaking effort for you to deliberately erode yourself of negative thinking and negative thoughts and fix your mind on the truth of God's word. So pick an area of your life where you want to work on, get some scriptures that tackle that area of your life and then begin to brood on them. Your mind may betray you sometimes. Yes, your mind may get to stray sometimes, but you would find a way to bring it back there. So brood on it and stay on it, and you'll see that there will of necessity be an obvious change in your life. Lesson two, imagination is powerful. One of the unique emphasis of this book is the power of imagination. Everything is created twice, first in the mind, second in reality. Before a building exists physically, someone saw it first mentally, someone envisioned it, someone drew a blueprint before the building now existed physically. Before an achievement becomes a reality, someone envisioned it. And so we are encouraged to see possibilities instead of limitations. This is an intentional and a deliberate act. You should be mindful and careful of what your mind captures. Don't allow your mind to just entertain any stray thoughts. You should intentionally entertain the thoughts that you want to see in your life, because once we begin to see in our mind's eye, we begin to create. Lesson three, think success before you see success. Most times we wait for evidence before we believe, but this book teaches the opposite. You must develop a winning mindset before you visibly see results, before your results become visible to you. Your mind should become a place where faith paints a picture of God's promises. And so, in summary, if your thinking doesn't change, your life often remains the same. The beautiful balance. What I love about these two books is how they complement each other. One teaches you on what to remove, the other teaches you on what to build. One helps you identify toxic thinking, the other helps you replace it with faith filled thinking. Together, they create a wonderful framework for mental transformation. After reading these books, here are like five practical applications or changes that I feel like anyone can start making immediately. The first is that become aware of your thoughts. Pay close attention to what you're constantly thinking or telling yourself. Your internal dialogue matters. The second is stop rehearsing negative outcomes. Instead of imagining what could go wrong, focus on what our God can do. The third is feed your mind intentionally. Read good books, study scriptures, listen to messages that will strengthen your faith. The fourth is to speak life. Your words often reveal your dominant thought, and that's just the truth. So replace statements like I can't, I cannot, it's impossible with faith-filled declarations grounded in the truth of God's word. The fifth is create a vision for your life. Don't just survive, have a picture of the person that you want to be. Write it down, pray over it, and work towards it. If I could summarize these two books in a couple of sentences, it will be that your life moves in the direction of your strongest thoughts. The battle for your future often begins in your mind. The habits you build starts in your mind. The confidence you carry starts in your mind. The faith that you dare to work in starts in your mind. And if you can change your thinking through God's truth, you can change the trajectory of your life. Have you read any of the two books? If you have, I would like to hear one or more of the biggest lessons that you took out from these books. If you haven't, I encourage you to go ahead and read. I promise you, they will change your life. If this video helped you in any way, don't forget to like the video and to subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.